likewise in every country from Russia, everywhere. They had a unique cultural identity, religious identity, and they had a unique way of living in every country they went. They were very peaceful and very thriving population from 17th, 18th, 19th centuries. We can see they were very thriving, having a very good hold or connection with the kings or rulers wherever they are living. But they were always considered as an outcast by the local people. Because I'll tell you, lots of Shakespearean tales also say the Jews were the only Abrahamic religion which was allowed for money lending and many other such things which were, a taboo for other religions. So money lending was, Merchant of Venice, if you read in Shakespearean thing, it is about this Jews merchant who's lending money for profit for merchant. So these people were encouraged by the powerful people of the cities wherever they were really living, but they were outcast at the same time. They were making a lot of money, but they didn't have an identity. Somewhere they were second class citizens. So inside the Jewish mind, one thing was very strong that they always wanted a land for themselves and they wanted to reinvent their historical connections and how great they were, their language and everything. So there was a persecution of Jews by the Christians, Nazis. Even in Argentina, they were persecuted. In Central America, everywhere they were persecuted, and they were fleeing, and they were landless people, and they were taken, plucked from all over the world. And the volunteers were called in to live in this new Israel, which was formed in 1948 by the demarcations made by the Britishers. The British has thrust, like how they just put a line in the heart of the subcontinent and defined India and Pakistan because the people also wanted some justifications are there and some non-justifications are also there. Likewise, they put a line on the land and they decided this land will be with the Arabs and this land will be settlement of the Israelis volunteering to come back to a homeland. But why that land? Basically, the eye of Jews world over was on the holy city of Jerusalem because their entire holy book, their religion, their language, everything is deep rooted in the city of Jerusalem. So somehow they wanted to settle in and around Jerusalem and make it their holy land. The Britishers also thought it as, the sympathy of the world was with the Jews at that time, post Auschwitz, post this Hitler Mussolini era, and they were asked to settle in this area. Now, uh, I'll anybody has something to say, and then we'll go straight away into the old history. Yes, yes, sir.
As- I- huh,
No, no, please
Yes,
continue.
Sayed, please say.
Thank you, thank you. Ashmit, I just wanted to make a quick point here is that you mentioned about 1948, but again, I'm here to pinpoint a very important thing that before colonial period that the British made a colony in the Palestinian or Arab countries, that I just wanted to ask that who were actually the owners of the land, who were living there for last many centuries there. For instance, Britishers came to India, and even when Britishers occupy India, land belonged to Indians. Similarly,
No, let me tell you. Let me tell. I got your point. When the Britishers occupied India, there was not a concept of India, but there was a thought in the mind of the people. People united to form an India because of the common enemy there. There were lots of kings, there were a lot of languages speaking people, there were a lot of ethnicities, a lot of kingdoms which were in the subcontinent, and these all formed together due to the common struggle as India. India is in the mind, it was in the mind of people all over the continent. There was no India. Britisher did not get it. But for the Palestine issue, which we are talking here, it was under the greater Ottoman Empire, which was breaking after the wars, Ottoman wars and everything. So the Britishers, occupied the entire area, encompassing even parts of Iraq, this Syria, Jordan, and all those areas were under the British occupation. The main eye of the Britishers were at the Suez at that part, the Suez Canal issues, Egyptian, this thing. That was the main place. And then this was a period I'm talking about when oil was becoming a business commodity, and there was a lot of interest by the people who won the war. The new polar world was forming between USA and Russia. The Britishers and French were losing the superhero image at that point. So this was the condition at that point of time, and this place was broken, changed hands several times, and finally it fell into the British thing. Britishers saw that as a wasted land with only historical, the Crusades War. If you know about the Crusades War, the war happens elsewhere, but all the road leads to Jerusalem. So Jerusalem was very important religious place, a holy site. But other than that, if you see the Middle East economic, map, this is the only area in the Middle East or the generalized area there where oil is not there. Everywhere else, even Jordan, Syria, everywhere they have oil. But I don't know for what reason, geological reason, there is no oil production. In only thing which comes up there is, I think, olive and other things. So that was the condition there. Now, let us take some of anybody has something to say, or this is a discussion. It is not a final word that Panster is saying something or I'm saying something. We are also trying to learn what is happening around us. Anybody has to add something, please pitch in.
Hassan, you wanted to say something?
No, no, please go ahead. That's fine.
Okay,
On population.
anyone else wants to say something? Please send a request.
Okay. Ashwit Bhai, if you could please enlighten us that religious population or demography, who are the people living there? Arabs, Christians, Muslims, and what were their demography, if you remember exactly? I don't remember exactly. Just know that there were only 3%
I'll,
Jews.
I'll, I'll, I'll tell you. I'll tell
Okay.
you.
Where in Palestine?
In Palestine.
At the time of
In 1850s
at the time of
in 1850s and
at the
19s.
time of occupation by Jews, I think, or at the end of Ottoman Empire, I think there were 87% Muslims, 10% Christians,
And 3% Jews.
and 3% Jews.
Okay.
Yes, something
Thank
like that. That was the combination.
Thank you.
Okay. Further, when we continue, what next? The next question arises. Like present day, what has happened is the Israeli population which volunteered to come there. There were great offers. Like buy one get one free type of offers for Jews world over. Israel was slowly trying to build in something called a government setup there in Israel in 1948, a very weak nation, and they were completely surviving on the Western aid because the Britishers had started something, even like they started the Commonwealth of Nations and other things. So they, what they call the man's burden. So that is what is the concept working here. Since the Britishers had started this, they wanted to help out this newly forming nation because I told you the sympathy was with the Jews after the war, Great World War. So, so what happened is it's such a huge thunder. In my area, it's pouring and it's raining like anything. So what happened is with the British and outside support, even food was imported. Israeli notices of this period, notice which they put up all over the world in shipping ports and airports and all that. It will say any Jew or anybody who want to convert into a Jew or any other religion experts on any field are welcome to come and stay in Israel. We will give you food, and if you study about the early time of the Israeli governments and all, they were, they experimented living together, dormitory living, and then only if you get married, you get into a separate housing, and cooperative farming, and cooperative dairy, and all those things were practiced, and they were trying to just put their foot inside. Now, the question arises: did all these countries, these Islamic countries like Egypt, Jordan, Syria, all these countries, uh, were they silent spectators that somebody comes? The British has left, 1948. The entire area, the British vacated like they did 1947 here. So once they vacated, a logical question arises whether the local kingdom of Egypt, Jordan, Syria, where they've silent spectators, that somebody has come and they are sending notices all over the world, inviting people to come and live here, practice something, reviving a governmental setup and all those things, and redrawing the map. Do you think they accepted? No. So what happened is this is the reason for the 1948 war of Israel. This war was with all the countries surrounding the present day map of Israel, Egypt, Jordan, Syria, and all these countries went for a war with Israel, and Israel lost this war. But any Israeli people would say that Israel won this war also, because if you study the India-Pakistan war histories also, if I was born in Pakistan, I will be made to believe that we won all the wars. If I'm born in India, then I'll have to believe that India won all the wars. It depends on, which side of the border you are born. So, why I'm saying Israel lost this war is the birth of two popular places. Now, it is popular in newspapers today. One is West Bank. West Bank was the land up to which Jordan got inside Israeli, present day Israeli, that map. So when Jordan aggressively moved forward, this war was, called off, as all these wars, after some damage, when somebody's losing, somebody big steps in and asks you to sign a peace treaty, and then the war is called off and all that, based on what you get out of the war, and you sign a peace treaty or you wait for some other opportune moment to continue. That is what is happening in Korea, India, and Israel, everywhere where these modern wars are happening. So when this war was called off, Jordan got West Bank, the area which Jordani army was able to come inside, is now called present day West Bank. Likewise, Egypt has the strongest, by the way, the strongest army in that area at that point of time was Egyptian. And the Egyptians also brought in their forces and captured some part of the land which is called present day Gaza. Gaza. So, West Bank and Gaza. And this war comes to an end. When somebody got a land and demarcates a LOC, then whom do you think is the winner of that war? So that is my question. So I'll leave it for you to think who lost the 1948 war of Israel. Slowly, I'll give you a Syed wants to say something.
Yes, one of the important aspect of the 1984 was Nakba, the mass movement which actually forcefully evicted the people of Palestine, those who were the indigenous people of the Arabs. So, because there are more than some sources says that there are 60 lakhs of the Arab Palestinian, indigenous Arab Palestinian who are living as a refugee now in different countries of the world. So, if you could please.
Exactly. I'll tell you. What happened is, see, these are all branch stories. What you're saying is exactly right. Starting right from that point of the 1948 war, trying to evict the local population and rearrange the maps or push people, simple people into small spaces and take up that land was the story which is happening to this date. So the reason which side tells for doing that, or occupying somebody's land, is that they have an ancient claim to that. But these local people would say we have much more older claim for that. So how long can you go back in history? So that has been happening. I did not elaborate upon that because we can't get into insights of the. We'll talk. We'll have a session on the birth and the going of Hamas and other movements in those region. We can have that is altogether a very, very deep and beautiful study. We will do that later. But presently, what I want to say is that 1948 war ended up in formation of West Bank and Gaza. From that moment till today, like Syed says, this occupation of these people, more and more people, Jews from world over, started to come in. More and more Palestinian people whoever had an opportunity, moved out of Palestine into the nearby countries, to Egypt, or they flew to some other Arabian country, or some opportune places, and some of the indigenous people, I'll not call indigenous people, some of the Palestinian, Arabs, they strongly noticed a trend in what Israel was doing there. There was a population shift. The population is a very important factor in political determinations. Okay, one side is calling people from world over, inviting them with offers, and increasing their population and making a strong government. One side is disintegrating. People are flying away as refugees from their own homeland, and some were living as refugees inside the same pocket of land. You can't be a refugee inside your own land where you were living. You can move to somewhere like what is happening in Syria and all that. But this was happening. This was a trend there. Pansari wanted to say something.
Yes, I just want to add here that the Israeli government was even giving incentives, or let's say subsidy, to people who wanted to build houses inside Jerusalem area or something like that.
Can I
So
just
they
add
actually
to this?
willfully wanted to colonize the area, and they wanted more and more people to shift into that area and make their houses in.
With the kind permission of host, I just want to add in your point that this point is very important, which actually made this whole Palestine-Israel issue very important for all of the world. Is that this population shift when started, that more than 550 villages were totally cleansed from the face of the earth. They were killed, they were butchered, and this is how they were forcefully evicted from their lands. If we consider that, for instance, they were living.
Said, that was the disclaimer we had. What we are going to discuss here is not about the who was right or who was wrong. We are
It's not
not
about
going
right
No,
or
to.
no,
wrong. We're
it's
just
part of
We
understanding
are
what the
history.
issue is.
we are trying to.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'll tell you. What happens is that I told you, like it depends on which book you are reading and who was brutal and all that. What we are trying to discuss here is we are trying to understand something before standing with it. There are a lot of our people from our nation who are very, very enthused in starting a hashtag or jumping into a bandwagon that I stand with this, I stand with that, when their own parents or relatives are dying in hospitals without oxygen. They will jump into, I stand with this, I stand with that, and nobody is standing with them when it is. So what we are trying to do is understand it from a distant, from a third party's perspective, trying to understand this. So because when we get into this, though I might agree with you that a lot of butchering and a lot of oppression is happening there, uh, if you put across this as a logical point to the opposite side, whichever might be your opposite side, they are not going to agree that. So it will be a tit for tat. You put a rocket, we hit you with another racket. Your racket is my racket. That is not going to end. So let us further. I hope you understand, Syed, and let us further move into the topic. Now, the next question which arises is why is Israel doing this? Why will Israel do this? They have been oppressed throughout history, throughout a long period of history, that they have been at the receiving end. They know the pain of oppression, and they have come to some place. And it is the Palestinian Arabs who has moved their houses and given them some space to settle. And why will Israel try to, capture their land? This has to be understood, right? Now comes the question of claims. I'll tell you. We'll get into the. I told you that we'll get into the very old history. Before that, what did Israel immediately do after coming there is, I told that formation of Israel as a powerful nation today is a very wonderful study. It's a case study in itself. It is being taught in world over universities. I'll tell you, first thing Israel tried to do in Israel was reclaiming their culture. The first point in the case in point is their language. The Hebrew language, which was lost in translation for many years. You can see Hebrew as a language 4,000 years back, 2,000 years back in Torah, their holy book here and there, but it was not a practicing language. It was lost. So what the Israelis did is we will research, reinvent ourselves, bring experts from world over, dig into archives, do anything and bring about our language back, and that alone will be our mother tongue. So I want to tell our people here, particularly Indian people, why a mother tongue is very important. The reinvention of Hebrew language by the Israelis is one of the major reasons for their strength. Okay, now cut, and we will go back to this question of why Israel was doing this. That I told you was because of the claims which both the sides are making. Somebody comes to your house and says, "This is my house." You're showing a paper. This is my house. He shows another paper that it is much older paper to your paper, and you show another paper, and he says, "I don't trust your paper." And you say that your paper is 3 days younger to my paper, older to mine. That is what is happening. You can't. I'm sorry, we can't be simplifying it also. So we have to know history. I'll tell you a story, a small story. What happened is, long ago, okay, there was an old man. I don't know how to take that. Say that man was 80 years old. Okay, he was living as a very wealthy man in those times. I'm telling you, thousands and thousands of years ago, he had a wife. This man was in his 80s. God had whatever God he believed, that God had given him everything, but as usual, God had not given him one thing, that is a child. So he and his wife were very sad because he is 80. I don't know what was his wife's age at that point. And this man was very sad. He was not having a heir, he was not having a child. So what his wife did is she decided one day, we can't leave our bloodline to vanish like that. So she said, you must marry some other woman because she might be barren. She might be the reason why this person is not having a child. So the wife told, I am going to find a new bride for you, and you have to marry her and give child for this bloodline. The man, I think, accepted, and there was a wedding. The wife was very clever. She selected her own maid servant. Okay. Why? Because she wanted to be the master of the house even after this new marriage. So she selected a maid servant and asked her to be the second wife of her husband. And as expected, within a year or two, they were able to give a child. This man was blessed with a child. He was very happy. Now, what happens is, as you may all guess easily, the wife who was very benevolent, who calculated very nicely that the new wife is going to be under her control, went out of her control, and at some times there was some friction between the two ladies of the house, and she started to pray that I did a big mistake by bringing in a second wife for my husband. She has a child, and I'm becoming a nobody in this house. Because of her prayers, what happened is God answered her prayers. I don't know which God at this point of time answered her prayers and told, okay, you will also have a child. I don't know what was her age at that time. And since God has blessed her, the lady also had a child after, I think 10 years of the marriage or 11 years of the marriage, second wife. This lady, I think this man was about 100 at that, 90 plus at this time. This is as per the documents available and what the Israelis believe, I'm telling you. So the first wife is having a new child. The second wife, who was a maid of the first wife, is already having another child. And now the friction become more. Okay. The friction become more. I would like to introduce this man's name is Abraham. Abraham, you must have. That is why we call these religions as Abrahamic religions, because it all fountains from this man's story. The story is accepted by all the three religions, and this Abraham's wife, the first wife, her name is Sarah. The maid who she selected to be under her and give birth to the bloodline, her name is Hagar. She's the servant. And what happens is this Hagar, I told you, she gave first birth to a child. The child's name is Ismail. Ismail. And the first wife who again went to God and cried, and she could have done that before. I don't know why she created all these complications. She could have prayed properly before that, but she did it as an afterthought. And here she again has a baby, and this baby is also a boy. His name is Isaac. I'll quickly, make you understand the names. Abraham married Sarah, did not have a child, married Hagar. He gave a child called Ismail. Sarah again became pregnant and she gave a child named Isaac. Now, I'll tell you one thing. From here on, historically speaking, the servant's child, Ismail and Hagar, were forced to evict that place. They were pushed out of Abraham's home because of the friction between the two ladies. And Abraham thought it is wise to give them a certain amount of wealth and, move them from their place. What normally a man does to keep the home front happy. So they were evicted. I underlined the word long time ago. This lady who gave them a bloodline was evicted from their tents. Maybe they lived in tents or caves, I don't know. So the followers or the bloodline which goes from there of the servant's child Ismail, they are called the Arabs today. The original wife Sarah's and her child and their bloodline are the Jews. Isaac's followers are called the Jews. This man did not stop here. A very interesting man, Abraham. At 100, Sarah died when he was 100 years old. His first wife died. His second wife he has sent away. I don't know where. He married another wife, and she is called Keturah. I don't know. Yeah, I think her name is Keturah. Luckily, there was no religion sprouting from there, and he lived on to have 14 children after that. And today, Abraham and Sarah's, their death place is called Hebron. Their remains are buried in what do you call that? Their tombstones are in a place called Hebron. Hebron is in Jordan, by the way. And the place where they are buried, Abraham and Sarah, who is the fountainhead of three religions, three important religions, Abrahamic religions of the world. The place is called Makbel-ah. Makbel-ah is a pilgrimage site for all these three religions. It is in Jordan. It is still intact. Many people believe that even Abraham and Eve, the first human beings, are also, died there, and their tombstones are there. So this is a story which happened 4,000 years ago, and how these Abrahamic religions took place. Now the claims are there, which dates back to this story. So there are a lot of interpretations. The first wife is important. The first child is important. The difference between the age of the first child and the second child. All these things are creating today's confusion, and it depends upon the local laws and what was agreed in practice in those times. Okay. So anybody has to add something, or if I'm wrong somewhere, please correct me. Punster might like to add something.
I have a question, Ashbit bhai. Who owns Sheikh Zarrah?
You're asking who owns Makbala?
No,
Sheikh
I'm
Jarrah.
asking who owns Sheikh Zarrah?
Sheikh Zara. Side by,
Aha.
can you tell?
Sure. I will tell you a quick history of the same. Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood is lie in the northern side of the holy site, important to all three Abrahamic religions, as Ashbit Bhai mentioned. What happened? after 1948,
One second, is Macbella and Sher Sara the same places or different places?
I am not sure about this. The today's case of the four families which is going on in the district court of Israel is about Sheikh Jarrah.
I think both are same places, and this is in Jordan, right?
No,
Presently under the
it is in Jordan, but it was under Jordan before 1956 or 7. That was
okay. That is why I got confused. It's Macbella.
okay.
Presently, it is under Jordan only, and there is a dispute of the site, as told by Said. Said, you may add something. Yes.
Sure. Let me tell you a click of the whole thing, what I know, and if something remains, Pansra, the host, or you both can add later on. 1948, when this mass movement to forcefully evict the indigenous, which I consider from their homelands, and they became refugees. At that time, this East Jerusalem was under the Jordan after 1948 war. And Jordan went into an agreement with United Nations to build some houses for the refugees in Sheikh Jarrah. So on papers, that agreement was yet to come. Before that, 28 families came and visited there, as per the agreement which happened between United Nations and Jordan, the ruler of that time. In 1956, what happened again? What happened between Arab and Israel? Israel took over to the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. So after that, in 1972, some Jews came, which were backed by the Zionist movement. They claimed that these houses belong to them and not to those who are living here. These are the refugees. They don't have any right to live here. So after these, time by time, those families who were living there were told by the court to leave. They were being forcefully evicted because, as per the international law as well, and the Israeli district court has no jurisdiction over those places because that is in Palestine, the today's Palestine, the state we consider. Now, what happens that the total population of Arabs in these places in Sheikh Jarrah is 3,000. Recently, four families. The case was going on, and for past few months, this was going on. That the Israeli court has given verdict in favor of, like as usual, throughout the time. There is no single proof or single what to say decision in favor of Palestinian people. So they gave a decision that these four family has to leave their homes, and they don't only have to leave their homes for the Jews who claim them, but they also have to give $20 fine for the court fees to those Jews. $20,000 to those Jews who were contesting against them. So now the contenders of these homes who are living there since 1956 and even before from 50s to 56, they say that we are living here as per the agreement which happened between Jordan and United Nations. We are not going to leave, and moreover, this district court of Israel has no jurisdiction to come up with any decision. For instance, if a court of Pakistan comes to a district of UP to say that this land belong to party or party B, similarly, a court of America comes to any other nation, because as per the public international law, nobody is allowed to do that. Their jurisdiction is limited up to their place only. So this place, Sheikh Jarrah, which is in conflict now, which is in question now, belongs to those. I think you are wise enough to make a decision that these houses belong to whom. And this is said that eviction, that word eviction is very dangerous to use for me, because it actually give a legal sense. For instance, when we say eviction, it means that they're legal backing. It might be legal for the people of Israel because the court belongs to them, but not the people of Palestine. They said that this is not our court. So this is the whole story of Sheikh Jarrah. Thank you.
Yeah, we understand. I saw recently. I saw somebody from Palestine who gave an interview to an American news channel. Also, strongly opposed the use of word eviction because it gives a legal authority to somebody to evict. But the whole problem here is the authority is changing hands so rapidly. Okay, that's what we were seeing from history. Like Abraham evicted his wife, his second wife. and lots of evictions have been happening since then. Let us see one by one. And if anybody has to add something, I had a message from somebody who says, you wanted to ask something or add something on somebody else also. Please,
Tell them to
post
send a
your.
mic request. Please send a mic request if you want to add something or you want to ask.
Please send your mic request. Or should we, Pansarbai, you want to add something, or should we continue from there?
I think Mr. H is here. You might want to add something.
Yes, no, you wanted to add something?
नहीं ब्रो कुछ नहीं ऐड करना मुझे
तो फिर
You
तू
want
आया
to,
क्यों है?
you want to subtract
अरे
something?
टिकट मुझे आ गया मैं क्या करूँ
हाँ? Listeners में जा फिर.
लिसनर पे जाता हूँ
He wanted to subtract something anyway.
Do you think that UN can give a peaceful resolution on this about this issue?
That is a very, because UN, I consider, I don't know about others, is still another experiment which is happening. After the First World War, we
Yeah.
had a similar organization which failed us.
Yes.
When in the face of great powers, such organizations fail because they are themselves financed by such great nations. Okay, so it is not a truly independent organization. So whenever some dictator wants to harass, they first what they do is they will corrupt such organizations and they will make them, zero. All such organizations which were supposed to be independent, they don't like independent organizations. So the first organization which came after the First World War in the same way today's UN is functioning. UN is slightly a better version, Android version, etc.
Yeah.
It's a better version than the League of Nations. So it is a very, your question is very generic. We have to live to see, or I don't know what is going to happen about that. And Pansar, what is your take on that?
Will they be?
If the UN sorted out, they would have sorted it out a long time back.
Actually, they were themselves handling that Jerusalem. I think that specific part they kept it for themselves. But now I don't think.
No. They didn't keep it for themselves. This was in 1940s. You're talking about after, I think before 1940.
They were handling it. No?
That was when Palestine and Israel was divided. Jerusalem was kept as an international area, not belonging to any nation.
So
because of the fact that it was important for all three faiths, all three Abrahamic religions. तो उसको अलग ही रखा गया था.
अच्छा, do you think that this militant organization Hamas or whatever it is called is actually helping the Israelis by bombing them so that they can get a chance or an excuse to bomb Palestinians? Because whatever I have read, it says that Palestinians and Hamas do not go shoulder to shoulder.
Tarun, we had a disclaimer right at the beginning that we're not discussing who's right and who's wrong here. ठीक है, वो पहले इशू समझ ले, उसके बाद ही कह सकते हैं ना कि हाँ कौन right है कौन wrong है. The problem here is, the whole point is that people are jumping, Indians especially, we are jumping to conclusions and taking sides without understanding what the issue is about. A lot of people think it's a religious war when it's actually a property dispute.
True.
ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे कुछ अलग ही एंगल दिया जा रहा है. That's why we decided to call this space and discuss the issue, so that more and more people understand that it is more of a property dispute and how that dispute has blown out of proportions. Yes, Asif, would you like to add anything? You've just taken the mic.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Actually, I have just one doubt. Actually, I have gone through some Google content and so on. Can you just elaborate what was the 6-day war in 1967? That would be helpful for me to understand the complete scenario.
Yeah, we will talk about the 6-day war, but we are somewhere in 2000 BC now. Would you like to come in a chronological order like our Home Minister says, or because we can, why the 1967 war, why the 1948 war? We can directly talk about what is happening today in Israel or yesterday. But we will not get the perspective. So we are trying to, whatever historical fact points are available from both the sides, we have tried to analyze both and take up where they are agreeing, both the sides are agreeing, and then we will go further. So logically, we can get into some understanding that is there. So very soon we will come to 1967, and you can understand why it happened also. Okay, because what has started as a ethno-religious issue takes turn into a commercial, economic issue with the coming of invention of oil as liquid gold, and then it takes another dimension after the formation of OPEC. Somebody's mic is
I think someone is
so.
dragging a dead body.
No, no. Actually, it's being very high raining here. Actually,
I'm
so there's
same
somebody
here, same here.
finishing my vehicle.
Are you in Kerala?
Yeah, I'm in Rajasthan.
Okay, it's raining very heavily here where I am, and
Yeah,
it's pouring down, and there is power cut. And another disclaimer is
yeah.
I might run out of battery anytime. Pansar bhai, forgive me if it is getting cut in
Not
between.
an issue, not an issue.
So we'll continue. I suppose we can continue. There is one what is the name? Somebody who is asked for the mic, Pansar. Can you look into that? Some Huzaifa Faruqi.
Uzaifa can, he's not yet sent me a request.
Huzaifa, please send the mic request again. We will take another, drag another bit, and then we will take a break where we will again discuss with everybody. So, where were we? Yeah, we were in history, Abraham and his many wives and children, and how the followers of Ismail become the Arabs, and followers of Isaac become the Jews. And somebody might be thinking, you told me this is a story of three religions. Where is the third religion, right? Anybody's having that question? Where is the third
Yes,
religion?
I
Third,
had that question. Yes.
yes,
Well,
yes. So let us go. Now, like in the movies, we will cut it here and go directly to BC 44, before Christ, 44 years, So there was a case which was happening in Jerusalem. We are going to Jerusalem straight away. Jerusalem by now itself is a very popular site, holy city. Why it was holy then? Because there was one religion is yet to take birth. Yeah, and other two things are having followers but not having very strong rooted ideas. The Jews was a major religion in that region. There was a holy site, I'm saying, in Jerusalem in BC 44. What was that holy site? I'll call it a temple as of now. This temple was built in the year 1000 years before where we are speaking, 1000 years before BC 44, somewhere in 1995 BC. I think there is I think a mythological or maybe a historical figure called King Solomon. You must have all read about him somewhere. King
Yes.
Solomon built a temple in Jerusalem. This was considered as a very holy site. At that time, the whole world was following pagan religions. I don't know how these people agree upon this, but King Solomon built something. I don't want to say who was the god at that time, because we were worshipping a wind god, rain god,
nature basically.
yeah, they were
Nature.
pagan and all those things. And
The paganism is about nature worship.
yeah, so this was there, and but this 1995 BC, and there was a king who built a huge structure in Jerusalem with a dome and everything and all. It was beautiful at those times, and there are historical references. They're one of the greatest structure in history. So this remains of this temple was there in Jerusalem. Maybe a few walls were standing here and there, and since it was 1000 years old, people revered it, and it was considered as a holy site for religion number one. Okay, Jews, not in any superior inferior order. I'm just referring to religion number one, the Judaism, Jews. So in this city of Jerusalem, there was a good amount of population in this area because continuously people were fighting to go to the crusades and all. If you see coming back into not a BC 44, later on in the AD thousands and all, there were continuous wars for this Jerusalem. We are 1000 years from present day. It is like 2060 years back. There was a case in a court in Jerusalem. What was the case? The case was between the people of Jerusalem and the governor of Jerusalem. This governor is like, like a small time king who was ruling that area. Romans were very powerful at that time, but it's these are all the regions which were outskirts of Roman Empire. Italy is where this Roman Empire is centered, and you can understand far, far away is these places. They have to cross the entire Mediterranean and then reach this region. It is far away, and these are like outposts. Here, there was a governor. What he did is there was a rebel group, or he suspected a rebel group, followers of Judaism, and this governor got all of them arrested in one when they were brawling somewhere in a bar or something. His troops arrested them, and what he did is he ordered his troops to kill all of them right after the arrest. The Jerusalem local law is very, very strong, which says nobody can be given the death sentence without a trial. Okay, imagine at those times, 2060 years ago, the courts were very strong, saying, and this religious heads were much more powerful than even the kings. So basically, the judge, the judiciary, and the religious heads were all the same people. So the Jewish priests, I don't know what you call them, the religious heads, they called the governor to answer, and they were very sure to give him a very harsh statement. The governor was put under house arrest by the religious because the sentiment of the people was even the governor has to answer to the religious these things. So what this governor did is he's so powerful, right? But he was very far away from his main supporters back in Rome or the nearby kingdoms who are supporting him by giving him money as well as troops. So this man, this governor, sent letters that I am being harassed here by my own people because of these religious heads. Anybody who has seen Game of Thrones can understand this. The most powerful people are being harassed by a religious head or something. I hope you will recall that. So this governor sent some letters. He was put under house arrest with some help by few powerful people. He knew that he will be executed by these people of this court. So what he did is he escaped from his own place, took few people to help. His I think he left behind his wife and all that, and they were harassed because of him. So he took few of his trustworthy people, escaped, and he went. Where he went is he escaped to Syria. He traveled north and escaped to Syria. Syria was directly under Rome. It was not an outpost, but Syria was directly under Rome at this time. And this times, I think Rome was a powerful figure in Rome was Mark Antony. I am very sure that all of you know Mark Antony, and it's, all of you are with me. I think I'm speaking alone for a long time.
Yes. From Julius Caesar, we all know Mark Antony.
Yes, Mark Antony. Mark Antony was a very powerful figure. This governor, being a very enterprising person, he made friendship with Mark Antony. He traveled once or twice to Rome from Syria, and he secured a position, a ranking position in Syria in the army. And he told his bad fortunes which happened in Jerusalem. And Mark Antony, for some reason, Mark Antony likes men and women. Okay, so I don't know for what reason he accepted this governor, and he gave him a position of power in the Syrian court, and he was made a head of some military force or something, and he lived in Syria for some time. But this governor had in mind one thing, that he is, by the way, this man, by paper, academic papers or by documentary reasons. Some of us, we have our caste, which is printed in certificates like that. This person, though he's not a very religious personality, by certificate, he's a Jew, this governor also. But he was harassed by his own Jewish priests and all that, and he was forced to exile from his place where he was ruling. So he had in the back of his mind that he has to take revenge on these people who are living in Jerusalem, and he wanted to rule that city, not any other city. Though he was given position in Syria, he was very interested in ruling because, we tell, no, I want to go to my hometown. I want to be something in my hometown. Likewise. So this thing happened. So this man was waiting for an opportune moment, and with Mark Antony's influence, he was once again posted as a governor to this region, but this time he was having a huge support of the Roman Empire, and he captured Jerusalem. In history, this capture of this governor, now you all will be interested to know who is this governor, what is his name. This man's name is called Herod, Herod. He later designated himself from governor to King Herod. He's a very important figure. This governor, he occupied Jerusalem, the first occupation of Jerusalem. It was very, very brutal, as accepted in history. Lots of people were killed, and with the help of the Roman army, he became almost the independent king of this region. But he was paying tax and supplying olives, wine, and grain, and whatever slaves and all to the Roman Empire. This is how King Herod came back to Jerusalem. I think the year was BC 37. 44 he exiled, and 37 this man, he came back to his place. And he became a brutal ruler. He was famous for being very brutal with all these religious heads and all. Many people ran away from this place. I'm not talking about the entire Israel here. You must all note down that we are talking about the city of Jerusalem. There was no nation called Israel at that time and all that. Okay, Jerusalem was the only place, and few villages here and there scattered. It was a dry wasteland. So Herod became the king of Jerusalem and the areas surrounding it. Meanwhile, what happened is in Rome, Mark Antony, you know the story of Cleopatra and all those things, and his good time was over and he died. When Mark Antony died, who took over Rome? It was King Octavian. I think in his honor is what we are having October. I think Punster, is it right? Octavian. I don't know. I'm not sure. So
Octavius.
Octavius become the king after this Mark Antony. So Mark Antony, while he died immediately, what Herod did is, I told you, he's a very resourceful, enterprising, liaison-oriented man. He immediately met with Octavian, and he gave his, loyalty to Octavian, and continued his position as King Herod in these regions, and supplied with slaves and other things to please Octavian. So that he has to do anyway. Now we will see the good side of Herod. Very important things in history by Herod in these regions, not history of the entire world, in these regions. King Herod was he managed to cultivate these lands. That is what is written in Torah of the Israeli holy book is King Herod managed to cultivate in this barren land. You must be recalling now that Israel is very famous for agriculture in that barren land, even today, right? So this was from the periods of Herod, thousands of years back. And then he started a system of land distribution. He distributed land to his people who are supporting him and all that. And he made it into a prosperous, relatively prosperous area, which it was not before. Other rulers had failed, and he had somehow, he put in his efforts and did that. But he kept the religious, these Jewish priests and other people in their places, and he was the God, he was the religion and everything. Judaism was suppressed but alive under him because he kept it alive because he himself was a Jew. And his wife, whom he left while he escaped these people, she died, or some people say that the governor himself killed. And he further married three women for political reasons, for his continued relation with Syria. Three women for political reasons, for his continued relation with Syria and Rome. That is how it is. What important thing he did? Yes. This is year BC 37. What important thing he did is there was an old temple wall which we found in Jerusalem, right? Which was built thousands of years before his time by King Solomon. That wall or the temple ruins was rebuilt by King Herod. He started to rebuild that and made into a. So that is a very important thing. Now the holy site is re-emphasized as a holy site. And most of the Jewish population started to revere him, though he has punished their religious heads. Another important thing anybody can guess, which happened during this period. Anybody, speakers?
बोली दे यार, बोली दे.
The birth of Jesus happened during this period. I'll tell you a
I
story.
thought he
This
was
is
still in 44 BC.
37. We have come to 37
37
BC.
BC. Okay.
Okay, so we have during his period, this man ruled for 33 years from 37 BC to if I minus 33, somewhere near the AD.
3 BC,
Yeah,
4 BC.
so during his lifetime only, it is that Christ was born. The Jewish religion has a strong belief in coming of these messengers of God, messiahs. Moses was one of the messiahs, and they revere him as their, super messiah, and lots of ranking and all that. So they revered him also, and they were strongly expecting a messiah these times. What happened is, before that, I'll tell you. Uh, Yeah, what happened is the Jews themselves gave all supporting evidence to King Herod that a Messiah is going to be born, and these are the conditions. This will be the dates. This will be the star. This will be the night, and this will be the place he is going to be born. What was the first reaction of Herod? As a Jew, he should have been happy that a Messiah is going to be born as per the writings in the beliefs. But what he felt was he was a true king. He felt some insecurity for his position because the Messiah, when he is born, he becomes so powerful that his place will be questioned and people will follow him, and there might be a rebellion and all that. Same thing was felt by these religious heads also. Though they have to believe that a Messiah is going to be born and all that because it was time for a Messiah coming, but they were not very supportive of the new coming of a Messiah with a king in place, they being suppressed and all that. I'm sorry. So what happened is King Herod, he sent to this geographical location where Jesus is supposed to be born. Uh, uh, and what he did is, you know the story, right? He was not told about the place of the birth. So after 2 years or 1 year or something only, he came to know about the place of the birth. So he ordered the killing of all the 2-year-old babies there and around, I think, Bethlehem. So same story. If you can connect it to like how Krishna and King, what is that monster? The birth of
Kans.
Kansa. So you can relate it, something like that. He was happening there at that point in this Middle Eastern region. King Herod killed a lot of people, but what happened is very luckily the father of Jesus Christ, I think Joseph, right? Joseph is the father of Jesus Christ, the human father. The other father you all know, or the human father, and his mother is Mary or Miriam, as they call in Jewish religion. They both escaped from Bethlehem, and where did they go? They escaped to Egypt. So the young childhood of Jesus was in Egypt. Okay, and they never came back for a long time until this Herod died. And his son was also a super duper dictator. And that time also they didn't want to go there because if somehow people were able to relate, this is a child which had escaped. Now the question arises is many people with a 2-year-old child tried to escape Bethlehem region at that time because there was a common direction from the king, to kill all these children. Now, nobody knows or nobody can identify Jesus Christ, but there might be a word of mouth saying that this was a child who escaped and born in this place, but come here. So they didn't want to risk it. And they didn't want to risk it. And where they went is they didn't go to Jerusalem. Instead, they went to a place called, one second, battery low. So where they went was a place called.
Yeah. Bedtime
Can
story
you
is
hear
over.
me?
Yes, we can. You plugged into a charger?
1 second, I'm connecting to my headphone.
Your voice is better now. Could you connect it?
Can you hear Panster now?
More clearly
Yeah.
than before.
Okay. So what I was saying is, because of this persecution of Herod and his son was continuing, and the king side didn't want to take any chances with the child. The Jews also didn't like, and so this was kept as a secret. And Joseph and Miriam were traveling vastly in Egypt, and then they did not go back to Jerusalem. They chose to go back to a place called Nazareth, where Jehovah, what is that? Joshua. Joshua is the name of Jesus in Hebrew. It's not called Jesus, it's called Joshua there. Joshua as a child was growing in Nazareth. So young Jesus, I think a 14-year of life of Jesus from this point is lost in history. It has various beliefs that he came to India at that time, or to the at least to present day Kabul or Afghanistan. I don't know. He traveled, maybe we can take it as that he traveled east to study the other religions, because all these people, Buddha, Jesus and other people, they had a vast search and travel before they could attain the enlightenment or whatever. So a 14-year period, right from this Nazareth childhood days of Joshua, Jesus, was lost in translation. Nobody has any strong documentary evidence where he was. So what he did is, Jesus came back to Jerusalem as a youth. So a lot of political changes have happened by then in Jerusalem, and new governor. By this time, Rome has taken over directly Jerusalem and all that. Directly, Jesus went to a place in Jerusalem, where, as you can rightly guess, he went and sat in the temple that was built by Herod. So the question where we were struck, Punster, where was the third religion in this Abrahamic has come into being, and it is going to go further interesting from here. We will take some discussion points from others, add some more listeners, Punster.
कहाँ गया स्पीकर सर?
Punster, कुछ क्वेश्चंस लेते हैं और कुछ डिस्कशन पॉइंट्स, सम करेक्शंस लेते हैं,
Okay. Divya ma'am, I think you wanted to ask something.
Pris is there, Divya ma'am is there, please add them.
आफ्ताब मोदी, अरे आफ्ताब मोदी, अच्छा जो भी है भाई पूछ ले जो पूछना है.
Yes. I'm here, Constable. The first time.
Yes, please. Please.
This is my first.
Do something about your mic before you ask anything.
Yeah,
Disturbance बहुत है.
Just give me a second. So, first of all, thank you for allowing me to be a speaker. This is my first experience of being on a space, speaking.
I have allowed you to speak, but I can't hear you. Your voice is cracking up too much.
Am I audible now? Better?
You're audible, but it's cracking up, bhai. Bhai, it's cracking up.
Just give me a second. It's not.
Never mind. Let's have Pujit. Pujit, you want to ask something? Pujit?
I have a question in the meanwhile.
Yes, Shams, please.
There's a famous story, I don't know, it's a story or something, about the throne of Solomon. When he built the temple, the throne was there, and it's said that current days the same throne is in UK or somewhere. So they have a plan to bring it back to Jerusalem and rule the world, kind of thing.
Sayyid, is there a plan?
What is it? There was something in the Solomon.
To bring the throne of who? Solomon.
Solomon.
To bring the throne of Solomon back to.
No. Who asked this question?
I had
Sean.
So what happens is, this King Solomon and all that, and the King Herod and all this historical, rather mythological, or if you are in a belief side, historical figures. There are lots of things, the Holy Grail, the seat of King Solomon, the sword of this, Saladin, and all those things. They are all over the history. These are all, I think they are all branches of the mainline history, which is of interest for a movie maker, or which is of interest when you go deep into those studies. A lot of movies are made. I think, what is that movie in which what is that movie where archaeologist, father and son, there's a series of movies, no?
Mummy Returns.
No, not the Mummy Returns.
Oh,
No, that
sorry.
should be Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones. Okay. Indiana Jones has lots of references. So these are all the side histories and beliefs. Always there will be a story that like Bahubali type of thing. Whoever has this will rule, and whoever has this will not rule. All those things. So I'm not very clear about that. Anything else?
All right. One of the Indiana Jones was had Amrish Puri in it.
Okay.
Why the same place for all three religions?
He explained that. He told the whole story of Abraham.
No. Why did they all choose the same place? All that just what was the 35 acres? The same place, one left, two.
That's the point. All the Abrahamic religion started from Abraham. No? That is the common starting point.
What he is asking,
if I may
you're
add
asking
this.
you are asking the fine trivia about where is that point of ignition, all that. So this temple is the main issue. This Jerusalem's holy temple is considered as the holy site for all the three religions. And if you see the Torah, which is a holy book of Jews, is the Old Testament of Bible, and most of this would the phrases or the things would be found in Quran, Holy Quran also. So at some point, all these people are falling against each other. Basically, they are all brothers, but at arms now. So we will go further. We'll go chronologically forward. Pansar Divya ma'am को ऐड नहीं किया.
मैं ऐड किया हुआ. She's a speaker. She's not saying anything.
हमारे में तो listener दिखा रहा है.
प्रिस भाई
नहीं, मैंने स्पीकर पे दिया हुआ है. मेरे को स्पीकर
और एक स्लॉट है, प्रिस भाई को भी ऐड कर ले.
प्रिस भाई को रिक्वेस्ट भेजा, he didn't take it.
अच्छा ठीक है. Okay. So where we will continue, because I might run in few minutes. I might run out of battery. I think a prolonged power cut here. Sorry guys.
I think अब जो speakers हैं उनको अगर कुछ बोलना है तो बोल लें, then let's call it off for today. फिर कभी.
Yeah, I have a few things to add. Actually, it's quite informative from his name Ashpit. So I just want to answer a few
After,
things.
please mute your mic.
Yeah. Can you hear me, guys?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. Hi. Good evening. Good afternoon. Good everyone, and good morning to whoever is in US. So there's somebody asked a question about Throne of Solomon. So that is actually something that started at the time of Knights of Templars. Sorry, my son has started to add. I'll move away. So yeah. So actually, this started of Templars. So those were a military order during the Crusades. So and today, actually, a lot of right-wing, it's a very interesting mix of right-wing groups in Israel. Some of them are very, very religious. Some people call them ultra-orthodox, and there are some guys who are kind of purely atheists. The Zionist movement is purely atheist, so very strange kind of bedfellows. Among them, there's a French group that believes in the Throne of Solomon, and that's why they keep digging, they keep asking. I mean, a lot of people are interested in that part as well for archaeological reasons, historical reasons. But everybody has got their own agenda in here.
Sir.
So the thing about King of Solomon, yes, that is very, very real from agenda point of view. We don't know
we
whether
agree,
if
sir.
it exists or not.
What is happening is not only the throne of Solomon,
Mhm.
even for the search of this Holy Grail and all those things, there's
Yeah.
not one instance. Okay, so all the
No. Holy Grail is kind of a adventure kind of thing. But when it comes to political movement, there is a very strong fringe political movement.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Of ultra orthodox religion, very strange kind of. There's a Kabbalah movement as well, and these guys are very real.
correct.
They believe, whether we agree with them or not,
Yes.
but these guys really believe in that.
Correct. You and me go together, and whenever there is a there is a fork in the road where there are two ways, I can take left or right, and that is where we come into conflict. Otherwise, while traveling through the jungle, we both agree if it is a single road. So lots of bifurcations in this road, but it all what we have covered today is it all started from this man Abraham's tent somewhere in the desert, and we have come up to this place called I think we are somewhere in Nazareth in the youth days of Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, that's why I was just going back to that the thing that is called Masjid Al-Aqsa by Muslims and Temple Mount by Jews. So basically, it was according to Muslim belief, it is the second mosque of the world. First mosque was laid in Kaaba by Abraham's eldest son Ishmael, and the second mosque, because they used to, if you look at the Torah and all those things, the method of practice was prostration, and prostration in Arabic or Hebrew means sujood kind of thing. So from there the masjid came. So that's why Muslims believe that yes, the mosque was there and the foundation was laid by Isaac, the second born of Abraham. So first one is
I can't hear him. Can you hear him?
I think the space is going to crash because a lot of people are saying they're sending my requests and I can't see them. A lot of not being able to enter. So I think it's going to crash anytime soon. So if it crashes, guys, some other day maybe.
Yeah.
We're not continuing the same space today because Ashwin got also low.
Yes, I actually wanted to ask about the 1948 war, but since we didn't reach there, so shall we schedule this question for the next time, or can we have just a
No, 1948 war we touched it before.
Actually, you said that the Israel lost the war, but ever since 1948, their territories have increased. So
I'll tell you what. Actually, 1948 war was the reason why we have a West Bank and Gaza. Okay. And we have touched upon that. Israel might be there, might be in a path of expanding their influence, but 1948 was the reason for these two strips of land, which is a place for the Palestinians now to put their foot down. And what happened in the 1948 war is Israel made independent peace agreements with all the nations which went against war with Israel. And then from there on, it was nurtured into a country that it is today by the Western powers, particularly USA and to a very large extent by UK. So 1948, where just Israel was a newborn baby, it is the formative ages. Even Mossad was not born at that time, and they didn't have a proper army also. So this was what we touched upon 1948. We'll come to 1948 soon. I think we are in 30 AD. It is just
that's why I was
2000 years.
Okay, then next time.
Yeah. So should we push forward, Pansar, or is it cracking?
It's going to crash. Huzefa wants to say something.
Yeah, Huzefa,
please, Huzefa, please go ahead. You've been sending a request for now.
Please.
Am I मतलब आपको आवाज सुनाई दे रही है हमारी सर?
बहुत बढ़िया सर, बोलो.
ओके सर, बस एक क्वेश्चन था और एक थोड़ा सा करेक्शन. क्वेश्चन ये है सर कि इजराइल में पिछले 2 साल से लगातार 4 इलेक्शन हुए. चारों इलेक्शन में नेतन्याहू या किसी को मेजॉरिटी नहीं मिली है. तो क्या ये भी रीजन हो सकता है कि इजराइल इतनी काफी मेहनत इतनी ज्यादा जोर आजमाइश कर रहा है कि ये कॉन्फ्लिक्ट और बढ़े। और करेक्शन ये है कि सर किंग सुलेमान जो थे, जैसा अश्बित भाई ने बोला था, वो क्या नाम, ओनली वन गॉड को मानते थे, बस ये मेरा कहना। तो और बस ओके दैट्स इट।
Okay.
The thing is, King Solomon is like 1000 BC. That is what his historical age traces back to. At that time, actually, Punster Boy also explained it was pagan religion, nature worship, and many super superstitious beliefs were there in the world. At that time, when King Solomon is supposed to be the great king who brought in a large population of people, because people were divided into clans at that time, small clans, tribes and all that. To bring them all together and become a, empire builder, it takes superhuman effort. Only King Solomon's name is there coming in from those ages. In our history, if we talk about the subcontinent of India, even at that period, we can refer to many kings. But in those regions, this is the first huge figure. And I suspect he might have gathered all the tribes and clans in the name of one god, and he built a site. He chose Jerusalem. I don't know whether it was fortunate for the people or unfortunately. It has become a point of clash for so many centuries and centuries in human history. I think that is the answer for your question.
Also, the pagan word was actually coined for the old believers. It even became a derogatory word to use the ones who didn't believe in Christ or the religions. So not really a nature worshippers per se.
It was actually started with, the term was actually used for nature worshippers first. Yes, please say. Is that Josefa? Can't hear your question. You're cracking up. Owais, Sayyid Owais Ali, you want to say something? Owais bhai, chale gaye. Muhammad, you want to say something?
Yeah, actually, I have one more thing to say. So far we have covered the religious aspect. Now, surprisingly, as I was mentioning about another, piece of puzzle in Jewish history, that is Zionist movement. And a lot of thing is like religious information is there for background. Yes, there have been conflicts before as well. So, this region saw conflicts, irrespective of religion, starting from the time of Babylonians. There was power. As usual, anywhere else in the world, there was power struggle. Babylonians went there, then Romans went there, then Crusaders went there, then Prophet Muhammad started a campaign of against Roman Empire, and then capture of Jerusalem happened during the time of Caliph, I think second Caliph Omar. So he had this agreement with them. So religious and political, all kinds of conflict happened. However, right now, the main thing that is being driven is by the Zionist movement. So all you see here, AIPAC, America Israel Public Affairs Committee. I hope I'm getting the abbreviation right. And so all these things started in. Their seed were laid, after the fall of Muslim Spain. So after the fall of Muslim Spain, Muslim empire started reducing, and it was reduced to Ottoman Turkey and some parts of Greece. So a lot of Jews that were over there, they migrated to Muslim land. As their influence started reducing, a lot of Jews, they started to assimilate in Europe. So they started considering themselves white rather than a Middle Eastern. And all, if you look at all that anti-Semitism that happened in Europe, that says, oh, you guys are not pure white Aryans. Okay, you guys are kind of kind of a bad blood kind of thing. So a very racist movement started over there. So as a reaction to that, a lot of, I think in France, I mean, the defining movement of this Zionist movement was there's some incident happened in French Republic. That is the republic that came into existence after Napoleon. So, and Napoleon was the guy who emancipated Jews. So that he gave them equal rights, or at least, he did not oppress them, just like the previous kingdom of Spain or England or the Lutherans did. He emancipated. So there was some kind of undercurrent, like some kind of, anger against giving rights to Jews. So a lot of anti-Semitism rise. And there was one person named as Dreyfus, French military officer. He was wrongly accused of treason and selling military secrets to Germany. He was put in jail. Then he was exonerated. So this thing actually spurred one of the father of Zionism, and I think in Israeli constitution he's also mentioned. His surname is Hazel. I don't know what his second name is. I'm not very good with names. So he founded Zionist Congress, and they started a movement to settle all the Jews, the diaspora, into the land of Palestine. So I mean, this area was called Palestine at that time. I think under Ottoman Empire, it was So they used to call it Palestine at that time, and it used to be part of Greater Syria. But later on, the people removed it from Syria, and it was kind of bifurcated as an special administrative region. So Mr. Herzl wanted to, move all the Jews living in diaspora. He got a lot of opposition from the religious Jews. He said that, no, we cannot go back to the land unless the Messiah comes. So at that time, there was a vertical split in Judaism, world Jewry. So these guys started discussion. And I think in one of the Congress of Zionism in 1903, I think they proposed to move everybody to Uganda, interestingly. And they identified a city which had a very, a cool climate, like a hill station kind of climate, just like Europe, because, a lot of people say, oh, we have been living in Europe. We don't want to go back to, I personally know a lot of, Jews who have left Israel. They say it's too hot for us. So these guys said, we should go over there. So a lot of religious guys accepted, oh yeah, maybe we can go over there, but not to, Jerusalem. We can't go there. So, but again, that was rejected. They opposed it. So one of the interesting movement in the history of Zionism came in, I think I have sent this link to one of your colleagues, Mr. Monk.
Yes, you sent it.
Yeah. So this is the official biography of Winston Churchill. So during Second World War, Britain was facing shortage of a chemical called acetone. Now, acetone is a very interesting chemical. They were using it to make cordite. Cordite is one of the explosives elements. So they wanted, support from them. So he said, oh yeah, I'm going to provide you a support. Now, some people theorize that he demanded that, Britain declare this Palestine a homeland for all Jews. And some, people said that Britain wanted this strategic alignment with them. So this is, again, nothing to do with religion. This is pure, racial tensions. Jews versus whites versus non-whites kind of thing at that time. All these Nazis and all those things, when they, later when they came, they just said that these guys are not pure blood. We are pure Aryan blood.
One second, sir. Sorry for interrupting you. Yeah, as you rightly said, there are lots of things which added on, like into the main recipe after the religious things, like religious tensions, and then geopolitical tensions post the two wars, and then ethnical.
Can I speak?
There is one Mr. Zia, I think, Ansari, who has sent a request to Punster. He says that he was a speaker for I think in the university for the Palestinian students. He has something to add. If you can find him, Punster, please add that. And
I don't have a request from him. I just have. I can only see one or two.
Zia Ansari. He
I can't
claims.
see.
Yeah.
I can't see any
If you
ID
can
by that.
find that request, you can add yes.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Yes. So basically, what I've read about the Israeli and Palestinian conflict is that we have to go back to early 1900s, even before the Six-Day War, before 19, what happened in 1928, before World War One. What happened was the Jews were scattered all over Europe, and they were mostly in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, which was basically an empire of almost 10, 12 nations, which had Austria, Hungary, Germany, Czech
Bro,
Republic,
we've
Slovakia.
talked about that.
You've talked about it. Oh, I think I missed it.
I think you came in late.
So one
That's
point,
why we
one
started.
point we agree with you is you started off saying that we have to see it from the 19th century perspective. This is a whole conflict here is the people who are involved in this conflict, they are bringing in different dates from where we have to start seeing the history. Same thing is the question in everywhere, in India.
No, of
In
course,
India,
in
No,
common practice, people
the
start with the
idea,
1900s, after
the
1920s.
idea of a Jewish state came during the 1900s when
Of course,
yes,
with the
we have
Zionist
spoken.
movement.
Theodore
Yes, yes.
brought the idea that Jews should have a place.
We understand. We
Not
spoke about that.
Yes,
he
yes, we
yeah,
spoke
okay,
about
yeah.
that.
Basically, he
in
didn't
detail.
even want a state. He just wanted Jews to be in a place. He
I know,
never asked for
homeland.
a Jewish
They
state,
call that as
in
a
a
homeland.
homeland.
Yeah.
Yeah, until then, I mean, Jews, Christians, Arabs were living peacefully in Palestine, and then everyone, I think you
OIC,
guys
sir.
spoke about it, so you
OIC, sir.
already know what happened.
Yeah. We have
Yes.
spoken about that.
I'm so sorry. I joined
No
late, so
problem,
I
sir.
think I
No
missed it.
problem. You're welcome. One thing is, I'm getting a lot of DM messages stating that they want to add something or wanted to correct something. I would like to state again the disclaimer. Here, we wanted, me and Punster decided, seeing the state of affairs in our country presently during this pandemic and how it is being managed, and our people jumping into bandwagons about supporting or standing with this person or that person. Based on that only this thing came, and it is a discussion. Here, our both of us, what we did is we have anybody in this group can go into a library or online library or Kindle or somewhere and read thousands of books on this and get enough of knowledge. But what we had agreed to bring in here is we are not going to state that somebody was right or wrong. Second information which I want to state is we are just presenting information in history which is agreeable by all parties, and from there we are trying to deduce it logically and see the religious angle, the economic angle, the present day angle, the power race in the world, the latest scientific, discoveries, the war for patents, and the war for rights of intellectual rights, and the recent, controversies relating to bio war. What would be the future population decrease and all those things? So we want to, just discuss the thing, and we want to encourage people into thinking about this rather than jumping, into a conclusion. Please read whatever you get about this. And this is, I think I just covered 5% or 10% of the issue. We can talk in detail about Hamas and other organizations which are involved. We can talk about 2-3 sessions on Mossad and how beautiful it is, where credit is due. How a successful organization, a spy organization it is. And, this yes sir, someone, yes.
I've been hearing a lot about your insightful opinions and all. I must appreciate the extent of the knowledge that you have about the issue. But still, I'm inquisitive to know, यार ये इजराइल पैलेस्टीन का इन्फैचुएशन हमारे लोगों से क्या है? मतलब why are we Indians so infatuated about that issue? हमारा क्या लेना देना है?
प्रेस भाई बताएंगे, प्रेस भाई
There are
बताएंगे,
people interested in international
प्रेस
affairs, world
भाई
affairs.
प्रेस भाई बताएंगे अभी.
You think that's it, Ponti? You think people are
No,
taking sides of Israel and Palestine because they're interested in
I am here for
issues?
that
You
reason.
please,
There could be different
you
reasons.
please go and ask a person who's trending I stand with Israel for the last 2 days what exactly he knows about the
That's
issue.
what we are not here for that. That's why we are not taking sides. We just want a neutral perspective of where things are, how it began. I wanted to
Actually,
answer that.
I mean, that's a good question. This
No,
guy
it's
says,
not about a
I fully
neutral
understand.
perspective per se. We are just saying at least know the facts before you jump to a conclusion as to which side you're on. And
That you
first
were
of all,
asking, why are we even
and first
discussing
of
this?
all, I don't understand this concept of actually Indians trending. I stand with Israel or Palestine when you've got problems at home first. Okay, so you can have a view about it. You can have a perspective. Like you can't stand there. You're lying in a hospital bed. You can't
Okay.
stand with anyone.
Yeah, actually, that's a very interesting thing. And I'd like to say
It's
one
not.
thing. See, as a human, we are a creature of bias. We have things like, we find it very difficult to stay neutral on something. So,
True.
नहीं सर, यहाँ पे
what
हुआ क्या है ना सर कि
yeah,
ये पता नहीं क्यों ये राइट विंग वालों ने शुरू कर दिया आई स्टैंड विद इजराइल, तो इधर वालों ने भी फिर शुरू कर दिया आई स्टैंड विद पैलेस्टाइन, एंड these two trends were topping India's trends list. So we kind of of the
no,
thought that
that's fine.
No,
I
no,
mean, that's fine. I mean,
most
I
of these
don't
people,
mind.
I'm quite sure that some people will be aware of what the issue is about, but most of the people are just treating it like as if it's on religious lines,
I've been actually
Yeah. I
which
mean,
is
there's a
which.
very interesting thing. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you
I've
what.
been actually
Okay.
wondering,
I'll
I've been actually
explain.
wondering, कि, as Indians, we are not a small, international force anymore. We have got our own international standing. तो मुझे तो ये लगता है एज एन इंडियन कि मतलब इसराइल पैलेस्टाइन बायलैटरल इशू है भाई, उनको जो करना है करें, मतलब हम उसके बारे में यहाँ पे
No,
ट्वीट करते
as an Indian, what
हैं।
you don't know is that
No, no, no,
historically
no. We're not saying we're not. One second, sir. We're not saying you shouldn't have a view on it. Of course, you can have your view or your opinion on a thing, but you have an informed view, have an informed opinion, and I don't think there's any particular reason why we should go on and on trending something
Exactly.
that doesn't,
that is a
So
different thing, yes.
we have, and at least not at a time when you have your own problems at home.
Absolutely right. And असल बेगानी शान में अब्दुल्ला दीवाना.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to add something. I won't comment on whether Indians should trend this thing or not. But okay, I'll tell you what. As a Muslim, we are heavily invested. Okay, so regardless of the nation, this is what my opinion is. So you might disagree. So as a Muslim, we are heavily invested in this thing, and theologically, it's part of kind of a religion. Okay, and there is a hadith. Okay, see, I mean, when it comes to nationalism, Islam is kind of against that. Okay, you cannot draw a line. Islam is saying that all humanity is same. Okay, and there's a verse in Quran that Allah has divided people into nations and tribes so that you can know each other, you can interact rather than hate each other. So when it comes to justice or injustice, so there is we should stand against any form of injustice, whether done by a Muslim or a non-Muslim, regardless. There is a hadith.
I think you're misunderstanding.
Okay,
I'm not saying you're not entitled to your opinion. You're completely.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just giving you, and I also said that. I mean, it's your view that whether you want something trending or not, it's entirely yours. So what I'm giving one perspective. So I mean, since Muslims are invested in this conflict or situation or whatever you might want to call it, I mean, you know that there is a section in India that hates Muslims. Okay. We agree. I mean, I won't say that everybody, but a large section hates Muslims. So that's why I'm just trying to explain why this phenomena happens. So just to piss off Muslims, people are trending this. Doesn't really matter.
No, sir. Can I
One second. That's exactly what I meant by when I said people are treating it on religious lines.
Yeah. So yeah,
can I add two lines? Excuse me, Mohammed. Can I add two lines? I want to answer this gentleman by saying that it is not Indians who are infatuated by this. We on this space, as informed people, are discussing this issue. We are not infatuating about it. The people who are infatuating about it have an agenda. There are trolls, whether they are a right wing or any other wing. Those people are infatuated. As Indians, we are informed people, and we should be discussing issues that probably indirectly or directly affects us or not. We should be talking about this because it's an age of globalization. Everyone needs to talk about these issues, but infatuation is not a correct word to use because we are talking about on this space. It's not infatuation,
Yeah,
it
we're
is
not.
a discussion.
Yes, that's fine. I think Mr. Panstar and Mr. Monk are going to agree with you. I think this is what they say that
We have
yes,
called this
that's what
space,
they
sir.
are here to discuss.
We have called this space, sir. We're not calling it an infatuation. We have called this space so that people know about the issue and we discuss about the issue so that we know
That's
more.
fine. That's fine. That's
Some
a
of
good
us have an
initiative.
idea, and
Chris
maybe
bhai,
by listening to people like Ashbit and by listening to people like who was that Sayed, we got a little more information, so we're a little better informed.
So yeah, but I mean, as you're going to see that,
Hey, sir,
like
to summarize what we are saying in a single statement is, we have tried to collect information from various sources which are agreeable by all parties involved and leave it to the audience to logically deduce where it goes. So we are not
yes.
influencing your mind, there is a perspective for everybody. I will tell you an example. When there was a Catalonia movement which was happening in Spain, I did not see not only India, none of the Southeast Asian nations were trending anything like I stand with Catalonia or I'm standing with Spain. So it is all interest and agenda driven world. So what is important is here is we have to source information and then we have to leave it to the person to deduce it with his own mind and come to factors rather than being the whole aim of this discussion is to inspire people to dig into, learn something, understand before standing. I stand with anything, but please understand before that. And we are not saying we will be teaching you how to understand. We are saying you understand yourself before standing, and for that you put in your own efforts. That is the brief of this. Prisbhai, you have to speak something.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think the kind of knowledge that's available on this platform is personally very, very useful for me, and I don't think I have anything much to add to it. So I would rather be a listener and listen.
It's only a request that please do another session so that we can at least reach to the 19th century and then.
Yeah, we will do that. Punster.
तो क्या आईएएस की तैयारी कर रहा है? चलो इंशाल्लाह soon we'll do another session.
I only want to add.
Should we stretch it for another 5 minutes and then
I only want
finish
to
it for today?
Yeah, we'll just take the last questions and then wind up.
I just want to
today.
add to what Ashbit said. And Ashbit has been speaking a lot and very, very nicely he has been putting it. I'm still not able to understand that why we Indians are trying to act as influencers in the issues of Israel and Palestine.
I won't say that anybody is trying to as influencer, or they can.
Excuse me.
One might think
इतने सारे वो tweets आते हैं, people are already opinionated, उनके पूरे अपने biased agendas होते हैं. आप ये बोल रहे हो कि Indian handles are not acting as influencers. I am sorry, I will not accept that.
No, I don't really think that any, like even a billion people tweet, they're going to make an ounce of a difference. I don't.
So you think that
you might disagree.
So you think that Indians don't have a say in whatever is happening in the world?
Not just Indians. It applies to everybody else. People making, like.
I have not heard.
Not just.
I have not heard any other handle anywhere in the world in communities wherein people are so aggressively involved in whatever is happening in Israel and Palestine for the last about 4-5 days. And it is.
Yeah, I explained this thing. Yeah, I explained this thing. Like Muslims are invested in this one, and right wings are, trending this to piss off Muslim. As simple as that. It's nothing to do with.
Mohammed sir and me says one thing is. Like to cut in. We got your question right, and it's not a question. That point of view is well taken, both of you. It is a very good opportunity, or I'll say that it was a very good thing that today we took some time not talking about the huge crisis which is happening all around us. This is the only point of time where I have not seen any messages or SOS calls or something. We took our mind off. Secondly, it is important to know what is happening world over, and particularly these kind of issues like Taiwan, like North South Korea, like India, Pakistan, Israel, Palestine, and other flashpoints of the world, because it is deduced that if there is going to be a World War III, these are some of the places which can be a reason, which has higher percentage of chances where these places can be acting as flashpoints for a next set of war or something. So it is definitely going to influence whatever you like it or not, what is happening in Israel, Palestine, what is happening in North Korea, South Korea, what is happening in other parts of the world will affect you. It will come to your doors, because last year or a year before that, we were hearing that how many of us knew Wuhan? And it was a distant story. Right now it is in my neighbor's house. So you can't close your eyes like that. But what we have to do is, we cannot. There are two kinds of people who take sides. One is the well-informed, or the second set is the insecure mind. So I don't want people to be insecure, to take sides because of insecure feelings or because of agenda-driven ideas. A well-informed side taking is pleasant. You can't be an unbiased person. You can't stand in the middle. If you ask me personally, I will have a side for every issue, where my heart goes. And that you can't stop. You can't stop your mind and heart from wandering, support of one thing or the other. But the whole point of view is our I'll say agenda for this discussion is quite different from what you both are discussing. Second point for me is, people who have joined late might find it very, not in order, this whole discussion not in order. So they might have a lot of questions, because we are going in a narrative of storytelling where Punster and others are pitching in and giving their points of view, and we are taking breaks and taking points of views. So that might be the cause of confusion for people who have joined a little late. If Punster would like and others would like, we can have another session also, in which we'll try to wrap up and cut it, not go into a lot of detailed stories about whose wife was who and how many children they had and all that. Or if you like it this way, we can have it and we can have another session. Maybe Punster, why?
I guess that sums it up for the day. Let's meet some other time now. I think we stretched it for over an hour. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you everyone who given their inputs, and soon we'll have another session.
Thanks, Pandai. Thanks.
Thank you everyone.
All listeners, thanks a lot, and those who didn't get a chance to speak today, I couldn't see most of the mic requests, so please excuse me. There's a glitch somewhere. Probably next time.